Hi, my name's Phoebe Smith and I'm an investment director at Whitehelm Capital, where we've been investing in infrastructure for over 20 years. And more recently, we've launched a dedicated smart cities infrastructure fund, where we invest in the infrastructure layer enabling smart cities. So people often ask us, what do you mean by smart cities? And I think for us, we're talking about utilising technology to improve services for a city and its residents, and becoming more resource efficient and environmentally sustainable in the process. So we use connected Internet of Things sensors to manage and control services across the city. So that might be street lighting, waste collection, smart parking, traffic control, all the way to enabling autonomous vehicles or telehealth. I think in terms of how investors can access that as an investment sector, obviously it's still a relatively new asset class, and we're certainly seeing that it's still evolving, but certainly something that we expect to grow very rapidly and very significantly over the next decade. And because it's still an emerging asset class, it can be relatively comparably difficult to invest in. But I think what an investor can do today is ask themselves, what sort of investment are they looking for? Do they want something liquid or illiquid? And where on that risk spectrum are they looking? Because smart cities can range all the way from core infrastructure all the way up to venture capital, particularly where you're looking at the application layer for sensors and the like. We think of smart cities as being an attractive new subsector within the infrastructure space that has very significant growth potential. When we look at some of the ongoing global trends, such as urbanisation and decarbonisation, smart cities is a very attractive solution to some of those problems, whereby you can improve services where you've got more people in smaller spaces, but at the same time providing energy efficiency solutions, all in one neat package. So by its very nature, it's a sustainable investment and really meets a number of the sort of ESG criteria that our investors are increasingly focused on. I think also, given the emerging nature of the sector, it's also a neat diversification away from other more sort of traditional infrastructure sectors, and relatively uncorrelated with economic activity, unlike something, say, like the transportation sector typically is within an infra portfolio. So obviously we're currently living in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we think that's probably had sort of is having three main impacts on the smart city sector. I think the first and most obvious one is almost overnight we've all moved online. Everything from video conferences like this, where we're suddenly very heavily reliant to talk to friends and family, to work, to learn, whatever it may be for different people, but all extremely reliant on fast and, most importantly, reliable internet connection. So for the sector, what does that mean? That means we need a lot of investment in networks, in connectivity, particularly in fibre, so fibre to the home, and obviously in mobile networks, 4G, and bringing forward the investment in 5G. But also the way those networks are designed will come under further scrutiny to make sure that, in the past we were really heavily reliant on network strength going into big office buildings in the centre of town. More and more people are going to want that last mile to their home to be more secure than it was previously. The second impact we're really seeing is people are becoming aware of the possible benefits of some of these smart city solutions. So one that obviously springs to mind is telehealth. If there are people currently needing to be in hospital for constant monitoring, that we could take out of the hospital system, where they could be monitored at home with devices talking directly to the doctors in the hospital. That obviously has several benefits. It frees up a hospital bed for someone else who needs it. It allows the patient to be more comfortable recovering at home. And it also obviously removes them from that situation where they're exposed to whether it's this virus or other hospital infections, so that rate of infection can be kept as low as possible. I think the final impact we're seeing is obviously we're expecting there will be a longer term economic slowdown coming out of the pandemic. And that's only going to put even greater pressure on city governments to find ways to save costs. And so smart city solutions can certainly help with that. And unlike your typical cost savings, they can do so while improving services. So we think that's going to become more and more important for governments around the world. In terms of the way we invest and whether we think that COVID is going to have an impact on the way we do that, I think that smart cities is very much an emerging asset class. And certainly for us, we're finding that the way we invest in that sector is still evolving. And so I expect that really COVID is just going to become part of that evolution rather than being a one-off change. I think in the short term, we probably expect that decision making for new projects is a little bit slower at the moment while we're still in lockdown. I think we all know that during periods of recession, often infrastructure investing is used as a good way to restart economic growth, and I'm sure this period of lower economic activity will be no different.